Good morning, Stampers. Today we are going to create this card. We're using the Geared Up Garage bundle, and it's an excellent set for masculine cards. Comes with all these neat gear dies and a die cut for your awesome little Mustang here. So what I want to do, I've had several requests for this tutorial. So we're going to do this technique. It's just literally tarnished foil, and I laid some dies underneath it to create the texture. And I'll show you how simple this really is. Hopefully this goes off without a flaw. So let's get started. I'll go ahead and move this out of the way. So what I did to save us some time is I've got a gray granite card base. It's 8.5 by 5.5, and then scored at 4.25 creates our card base. And then we have a basic black. This one is 4 by 5.25, and that will mat onto our card base. Oh, it looks like I need to change my trimmer blade. I'm getting a little fraying there. And then our working piece is going to be 3.75 by 5. And I did use the thick whisper white on this. Just, it gives it more, it's a little stronger. So then I cut out 4 of the large gears, this large gear die here. I cut out 4 of them in the thick whisper white also. And we are going to layer these together so that we have a thick underside here. So let's do that first. And we're merely going to just glue them on top of each other. If I would have pre-thought this, I would have thought to cut them out using the adhesive sheets and then they just glue right on, but I didn't think of that, so we're just going to put some glue on it. I'll show you a quick trick with gluing some of this stuff. Let me get a base paper down and get glue on my workspace. I have an actual sponge dauber that's dedicated to glue. I took one of my embellishment containers that keeps it from getting hard. So what you do with that is you've got your base, take your little glue sponge, add some glue to it, then we're merely going to dab it onto our piece and then glue the two pieces together. You could probably use tape for this. I like using glue because you have a second to move it to make sure that it's lined up together. See, I can shift that just a little bit, and we've got that one done. Let's do this one. Still have enough glue on my sponge, so you don't need a lot. Glue goes a long way. So we'll glue these two together. And since it's the thick whisper white, it makes a fairly thick set. If you don't have any thick whisper white, I would say do maybe 3 of them glued together. So now we're going to take our card base and we're going to glue these on or not our card base, apologies, our work piece. It's early here. It's like 3 a.m. here right now. I seem to be more creative in the wee hours of the morning. Plus, my dogs aren't quite awake yet, and they're not barking in the background, and so on and so forth. I noticed I have a piece that didn't punch out here. Let me see if I can punch it out. There we go. So now we're just gonna, oops. Hey, look at that. It didn't even land glue side down. Normally it will. So we're just gonna attach this to our workpiece. And do the second one. There's several ways to do a tarnished foil technique. I call this my poor man way because I don't always have, see, I didn't glue that one up far enough. But you know what? We're going to have to go with it because I didn't lay that out. So what I can do, since that went over just a hair, so I'm just going to grab some snips. Find my snips. There we go. Just gonna grab some scissors and we're going to trim it off. Okay. So now we have our base piece. Now you're going to take just standard aluminum foil. You don't need the real thick aluminum foil because it's a little harder to crumble. So tear off a piece large enough to cover your project. And I usually just kind of lay my project there and leave yourself plenty of extra because we're going to crumple up this foil. And cutting foil with your scissors is a good way to sharpen them real fast. Same thing with your punches. If your punches are getting dull, punch some aluminum foil with them, sharpens them. Okay, so for this trick, we're going to try something new. Normally, what I do is I dab it with my glue sponge, but we're going to try something different together. I'm going to try using the adhesive sheet. I'm going to take a piece of my adhesive sheet here. And we know that this is 3 3/4 by 5, so let's trim that. So we're going to just trim it 3 3/4 by 5. And you peel off your cover. And I'm just going to lay this straight down on here. It's a little bit larger. I didn't give consideration for the peel off spot, so all I'm going to do is trim this, which you actually don't need to do, but because your foil is going to fold over the sides, so it would actually give you adhesive area. So now I want to take my bone folder and burnish it. We want to make sure that the adhesive gets down in the gears as much as possible. So go along the edges of your gears really well to make sure your adhesive gets there. So we want the foil to stick down on it. I want to make sure it's on here really well. Now we're going to take our piece of foil, and we're going to lightly crumple it. Doesn't take a lot. Pull it back out. Be careful not to tear it. We'll take our adhesive protective sheet off. Make sure my edges are really down well. Apparently I'm not peeling that right. Got our protective sheet off. Now we're going to put our foil directly over it. And you want all the little wrinkles, so just burnish it really well onto your piece. And if you smooth it a little bit around the gears will start to show up. Use your finger to smooth it. See how your gears are showing up there? So just make sure it's adhered down really well. I'm going to trim off a little bit of the excess, not a lot, because we're going to fold it over to the back. I'm going to run just a little bit of tape runner along the edges of the back and just fold our foil over. You can do this with chrome foil paper and stuff too, but this is, I call it the poor man's tarnished foil. Now we're all smooth. Now to make those gears pop, we're going to take our black StazOn. You'd be really happy to know I just stabbed myself in the foot with my scissors, but just how my morning's going to go apparently. So we're going to take our black StazOn, and I have a dedicated sponge piece. I take my Stampin' Sponges and I cut them into wedges, and then I use a label punch, and then I label my sponges. So we're going to take our black StazOn, make sure this is really juicy, and then we're just going to go over our image. Matter of fact, I probably need to ink up my StazOn a little bit. StazOn tends to stick better than, and it dries easier. So you want to try to get in between the gears. I'm going to grab my re-inker for my StazOn. Hopefully I have some. Yes, I do. And we're going to learn really quick how to re-ink an ink pad. Do this with your standard ink pads too. Just put a couple drops on your pad, and then I use the tip to just smooth it in. And there you go, you're re-inked. can also do this with your Versamark pad and embossing powders if you'd like. It's another form of getting a more tarnished foil. We'll do that in another tutorial. I use that technique mainly when I'm doing antiquing, or what do they call it? It's not antiquing. Oh, wish I was live right now and somebody could tell me. Actually, it would be called patinaing. Okay, so we got some black on there, and I want those gears to pop, so I'm actually just going to see if this works. I'm going to grab my baby wipe and just lightly go over the top of my gears so that the black is down underneath. It'll pick up a little bit of it because it's still wet. And I'm just wiping off the very top of the gears a little bit to see where I need more black. So we want the black to get down inside the little grooves of the gears. And we're going to lightly swipe over those gears again. Not a lot, it'll pick it up pretty easy. Just miss this corner. I would almost, the way this one's turning out, maybe it's because my foil is thicker than the first one I used. Maybe even do a third layer on your gears, and it'll make this part a lot easier because you'll have more of a raised surface. Wow, that shows up on film really. I burned myself yesterday making garlic bread. I'm not a good kitchen person. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit and see how our gears kind of pop there. That's how this one did. So I want to add some dark highlight along my edges. So you just do your regular sponged edging. That'll make it blend easier with the matting, the black matting. And you get it everywhere. I don't know that I do many techniques that I don't end up with ink all over myself. And my husband bought me a box of, like, those little rubber gloves. You would think I would use them, but I never remember. See, there we go. And our gears are popped. See there? Hopefully that's showing up on film. Alright, so now from there, you may wipe some of this ink off me. While that's drying, actually you can hit it with your heat tool a little bit. Let's do that. Let's just on low setting, you just need it to dry a little bit. Stays on, tends to stay tacky a little longer. That's my old heat gun. I've had it for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, and it's kind of on its last leg. I have 2 others because I do a lot of classes. So now we want to make our greeting. So I took a scrap piece of black, and I'll show you how we do the flag. We're going to take the all geared up to celebrate. Isn't this a great masculine set? Look at this, Father's Day. And where can you go wrong when you don't have a Mustang? I owned one of these. I had a Mustang Fastback. I used to be a big car buff when I was a kid. Of course, my dad had me under hoods of cars all the time. Okay, so now let me find my block. It's so rare that I use a block. I hope I get this straight. We're going to take our Versamark. Looks like I got it fairly straight. Lucky me. I never do. I'm such a big fan of the Stamparatus. I pretty much rarely stamp without it. So we're going to put a little bit of silver embossing powder. Okay, a lot of silver embossing powder. There you go. Can get any strays off you have. I would suggest when you're doing black, do as I say, not as I do, and use your embossing buddy to make sure you don't end up with what I just ended up with. Oh, some stray. Let's heat set that. I like to heat the back of mine a little bit before I heat the front. It just makes it melt a lot faster. And also helps on the warpage when you're doing a lot of heat embossing. I love silver and gold and copper on black. I just think it's so pretty. I'm going to show you how we create this flag tag I did. Pretty easy way. We're going to take a trimmer, move some of our stuff out of our workspace, and we're going to line this up. So we should do it this way. It's going to be about 3/4 of an inch flag. Which means your gray granite piece is going to be about 1 inch, which is exactly what I have here. Then I usually take, and I know that this is going to go here. You know what? I think I want my gray granite thinner, so I'm going to do that. I just want a small, so that'll put it at about 7/8 of an inch. Let's see how that looks. I just want a thin mat on it, just to draw some of the card base out. There we go. That's what we want. Okay. So now, I'm going to take and line up the side that I'm doing the flag. Okay. We'll trim the other end last. So I'm going to line that up where I need it on the edge there. And then I'm going to take a pencil. I'm going to mark the center about where I want the center of the flag to go. So I'm going to put it about right there. And with these two pieces together to create your flag, some people are really good at trimming it. I'm lazy. I take a square punch. This is just a 1-inch square. And I line up. See if I can get this to show up on film. And you want your two edges flush right here. Alright, so put them where you want them. Take your square punch. Make sure they're lined up. And right where you put that tiny little pencil dot, line up your square there. See how the square is? Kind of adjust your little feet there where it looks square. Punch it out. And then you have a perfectly matched flag. So we're going to glue that down. Or tape, whatever you prefer. We're going to line up that flag. And it gives you the perfect little flag there. And now I'll take my snips. As soon as I figure out where I put them again. Here we go. Then we're going to take our snips. And I want this one to be flush. So I'm just going to trim it off. And you have your tack. Now this is, yep, it's dry. So this I want to go up with some dimensionals. Let's put a couple dimensionals on it. And let's put it about right in the center. We're going to go right flush with the edge because then that'll draw in our gray. Now we'll just take a few of these copper. I just cut out some gears, some of the smaller gears. So you have like several little small gears that come with this. We're going to take our little glue sponge, freshen it up a little. See, it's still soft. When you keep it in a container or a baggie, your sponge will stay soft. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue on this. And let's put one right about here. By putting the copper accents, it just kind of pulls it all together. So I'm going to put one there. Let's grab our big one. Here. I'll probably use my regular. And let's put one here. Now, it's going to take it a second to dry on the foil. Your other option is to use like your fast fuse, because this is still a it's a porous surface, but it makes it hard for things to stick. So use glue or your fast fuse. Where do we want to put? Let's put this one in the corner here. Give them a second to dry. Oops, see it takes a bit to stick. Mostly it's sticking to my fingers. Let's put one more on here. Okay, I'm going to heat set this just a little bit to make sure those stay on there. Don't want our embellishments to fall off. Okay, now we're just going to attach this to our matting. Like I said, since it's foil, I would use either glue or fast fuse. I'm a big glue fan, you know that about me. I like to be able to have that couple seconds that I can move something around to make sure it's square. Okay, and we're just going to connect this one to our card base. And there you go. It's that simple. And it makes a great masculine card. I would probably, on the inside, go ahead and use one of your greetings. And, you even have a spare gear here left. So we'll just, what we'll do? We'll just put that little gear right inside. Let's do that. And stamp our greeting. And you're all set. There you go. Tarnished foil. And it's another one of those mixed medias that are going to turn out different any way you do it. So just have fun with it and play with it. Use different colors. You could probably use your standard inks, but know that since they're water-based, they may not dry on the foil. But you have different colors that stays on. We will do a technique doing this using embossing powders, and it's a beautiful technique. I hope you enjoyed today's card, and have a happy stamping day.